Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with one T McBee, Terry McBride, as we get ready for a Tuesday slate that's almost a full main slate, but there are two early games, 6:37 and 6:40. We'll talk about the pitchers in that as well as the rest of the slate because that's what we do here on the Early Birds Podcast, sponsored by Yahoo. Yahoo! Do you remember that commercial?
That was a pretty solid rendition. That was a well done little yodel there. I like that.
That commercial is ancient. I'm sure most of our viewers have not heard that. At one point, Yahoo search engine was the Google of its day. No longer.
For sure. What other ones? Do you remember Web Crawler? I think that was my first, was Web Crawler.
Web Crawler, Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, yep.
There was Lycos.
Yep. I remember
Lycos
that. Didn't use that one that much on my old Netscape Navigator browsers.
I'm trying to. Yeah, there were some horrid ones out there.
Back before half our audience was born.
Oh, absolutely. GeoCities. I never had a MySpace page. I never even really went to MySpace.
Me neither. I was never a MySpace. Before that, I was never on Friendster, and I'm currently not on Facebook. This is just not my thing.
Facebook hit me kind of right in the sweet spot. I moved across the country and joined that and could keep track of everybody. And we were at that point, what was I, like 8 or 9 years out of high school. Right. So I was able to, I happened to be unemployed after getting laid off after moving across the country. I happened to plan our entire 10-year reunion via Facebook. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, and it was easy. Now, my class
handy
was...
for that.
Yeah, my class, about 85 people graduated, I think. 5 people didn't graduate. They failed English class. Did I ever tell you my mom was a senior English teacher?
No.
Oops.
Oh, wow.
But yes,
That's fun.
So it was easy. And so I grew up in a town like that was 2,500 people. So we would all, every year, we would tease kids that we had some of our really good friends came in 6th grade or in 8th grade. And it's like, oh yeah, you guys are the new people, even though they've been there forever. So we always did a picture for our small town, the weekly paper that came out once a week. There'd be one page of the graduating seniors, and then on the other page, it was everybody that was kindergarten through 12th grade. And it would be about 60% of every class would be in it.
Just in the other.
Oh yeah, it's so many of I had teachers that taught my dad 30 years before.
Oh wow.
I had a lot of tons of my friends, their parents were in high school with my parents, and
right.
It's just
so literally one of those towns where like everybody knows everybody.
Completely. Yeah. You're related to just not like, oh, it's my cousin. Which one? There's a bunch of them. So always interesting. But let's get back into the fun here.
Yes.
Reminder that got us off track. Yahoo now sponsoring all MLB content here on Awesemo. If you guys have not yet signed up, when you do, use the promo code Awesemo, and Yahoo will give you $30 in YSRPs. That's Yahoo Sports Rewards points when you make a $30 deposit. Anything between 0 and 30, they will match. And those are available for immediate use into any contest. You cannot withdraw YSRPs, but you can win cash with them that you can then withdraw. So not a bad deal at all. And they're also running management fee-free contests. Now, they've taken a different approach. So like I played a baseball one that was management fee free today. That's what they call the rake, but it's management fees. They usually are between 10 and 12% on Yahoo. We know they're up to 16, especially in the tournaments on most of the other sites. They run management fee free, meaning there's whatever, they guarantee the contest, and then everything that goes in is paid out. And then if it doesn't completely fill, they make up the difference. So it's great. They ran it for 8-10 baseball tonight, and it didn't quite fill. And I got into it after the main lock because people weren't in there. Now, granted, it was 900 people, and it's a 10 entry max, $3 per entry, but those are winnable contests. I did their basketball one earlier today. I was telling Terry pre-show, I'm by their projected points, there's a chance I can finish 6th. There's also a chance I can win. I just put in one lineup real quick, made it 90 seconds as we were waiting for DeAndre Ayton news. Basketball, boy, off the rails today. But check them out. They're a lot of fun over there. They now have CSV upload as well as CSV edit. And they have late swap, obviously, if you have those. All right, Terry, let's get back on hand here. I'm so easily distracted, but it's fun chatting with you. I don't know all the backstories. You haven't heard all of my bad jokes or stories yet.
Exactly.
Unlike poor Adam, who I've worked with for almost 4 years now, so he's kind of heard everything. But
to just start them all over again. That's
exactly,
great.
Exactly.
Can't wait.
Let's jump in here. We've got our 2 early games. So you've got Miami at Toronto. It's a 6:37 game. And then at 6:40, you've got Kansas City at Cincinnati. In the Miami game, we've got Hyun-Jin Ryu hosting, who is it? Eliezer Hernandez. So Hernandez is an interesting guy. Went 66 pitches in his last start. If I remember correctly, doesn't allow a lot of power. Not a ton of strikeouts, but I we'll see. He's a really very young guy. I want to say, is he even 21 yet? I'm not sure. He didn't come up with all the bona fides, but he's turning himself into what will be a nice pitcher that ultimately the Marlins will move at the trade deadline to somebody else who's in need of shoring up the back of their rotation with a renta number 3 starter. So you've got him and Hyun-Jin Ryu, and then you've got Luis Castillo. This one's in Kansas City. He's in Cincinnati. They're hosting Kansas City, and we know he's got strikeout upside 9, 6, and 11 in his 3 starts. Break down our quartet of pitchers here.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've got one clear-cut ace on the board, and that's going to be Castillo, obviously. As we're looking at that Marlins and Blue Jays game, it's important to note that this is the first game in Buffalo at the Buffalo home park. So this is not going to be played in Toronto and
Thank
not going
you
to be
for
played in Miami.
correcting me. Yep.
So make sure if you're using park factors or anything that you make your necessary adjustments. I was Googling around. There are AAA park factors available. It looks like this park plays 76th percentile in runs, a little bit under in runs 76th percentile is going to be around league average, and then 88th percentile of home runs. So a little bit of power there. So it plays to the home run a little bit. Kind of neutral-ish overall park factors, and nothing you really go crazy about in that. So I like Ryu in the spot. I don't necessarily like Eliezer against this Blue Jays lineup, and I'm just pulling it up because you mentioned not big unyielding power. I had written it down, and yeah, it's a very limited sample size, but he actually is at a 1.83 home run per 9 through his career. So we're only talking about 152 innings pitched. So again, that's very limited sample size. And it looks like it's a work in progress because it was 2.19 in 2019. So the power thing he's still struggling with, still working on a little bit, but he's a quality pitcher. He throws a lot of strikes. He pitches to contact a little bit, which I think is probably what is driving that home run per 9 up a little. So when he gets it all harnessed, I think he is going to be a good starter. I don't love it in this spot, even with the strikeouts available in that Blue Jays lineup. There's some power there. So I think we really lean into Castillo. And then the other one that I'm kind of made a note on is Bubic going for the Royals. Is a guy that in the minors, he was able to get around 64% ground balls a couple of his different seasons there. So he's a ground ball pitcher. He's got a heavy spin curve that yields ground balls. So not a guy I'm targeting for a pitcher necessarily, but somebody that we want to be aware of the impact it might have on some of those Reds bats. He might be able to keep them on the ground if he's on his game. He's made a couple nice starts, 6 scoreless his last time out with 6 strikeouts. He was also a 30% guy at high A last year. So he's a decent little starter. Again, not somebody I would go nuts with rostering as a pitcher, but I'd be wary about those Reds bats.
I wonder who I have in my mind, because Hernandez is 25. I would have said 23 at the highest. So who knows? My apologies. See, that's why we've got Terry here to set me straight for that one. He's bounced around in the minors from age 17 through 23 before making his major league appearance. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a limited MLB sample. So you had the right thing. Is just a couple of the details. I happen to have written down the right detail to be able to catch that one.
All right, now on to the main slate here. We've barring testing anything unforeseen, it looks like we're gonna have a 12-game slate here. This one is going to be quite robust. We do have Coors Field in action. We've got Cal Freeland and Zach Gallen in that one. But let's kind of walk through just game by game, see what we have presented here. The first one up is going to be Touki Toussaint in New York taking on the Yankees. No more I can call him Mike Stanton. He was Mike Stanton before he changed his name to Giancarlo Stanton. That's how, or went back to Giancarlo Stanton. That's how long I've been playing fantasy. No, not daily fantasy. Fantasy. That was a long time ago. Baseball. But we've got Touki Toussaint, who we have decided decent strikeout upside. Except he's getting extended enough that he can go a third time into the batting order. Not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing. But he did go 83 pitches in his last start, 74 the one before that, 67 the one before that. His last start against Toronto, he went 6 2/3. Those 83 pitches, he got 9 strikeouts. He has had 7 total fly ball outs, 2 home runs allowed. Dare we say, could he be harnessing the immense talent that he had for a while that just did not materialize once he got to AAA?
Yeah, I tell you what, it looks like we might be seeing him, become the starter that people were hoping for in Atlanta down there. And it's nice to see, filling into that rotation that's taken some bumps early in the season. He's getting a nice, real big opportunity here, getting a lot of leash, and he's kind of delivering on it. He's been a mid-20s strikeout guy in the minor leagues, so he's got a good track record with the strikeout. He could probably continue to do that. We're seeing him currently; he's right around 18, so we see maybe a little bit of an uptick there even. The one concerning thing, just in poking around on him a little bit, just because he's a new guy, seems like so far he's in the 14th percentile in the league in barrels allowed. So he's allowing a lot of barrels, which is something we want to avoid as a pitcher. Against this Yankees lineup, oof, a guy who's going to allow a lot of barrels to these guys in Yankee Stadium, tough. So it's something to be wary about. I'm very curious where he comes down in Alex's top starter model tomorrow. He was high ranked through the day the last time out, and he delivered on it. Came down a little bit towards lock, but the percentage was still really high. So I'm going to keep a close eye on him. We know there were strikeouts in this Yankees lineup, so he could certainly get to them. As far as the Yanks side of things, Jordan Montgomery, not a great pitcher for DFS purposes. Not a guy I'm getting a great projection on. Middling strikeouts guy. He's only a 14.6% strikeout rate so far in 2020. He is throwing harder, 3 miles an hour harder than he was in 2018 before he got hurt. So that's interesting. He's throwing more changeups and fewer curveballs. But against this Braves lineup, even with the strikeouts in this one, not a spot I love for a pitcher. I might get a little bit of him. On DK at 7,900, he seems overpriced. So I'm not sure if he works into your SP2 mix over there. Do you see rostering any of
Yes. I'll go about 10% on DK, but on Yahoo, he's $25. That is the pitching price minimum. He's squarely in play there. Obviously, we're hoping we don't get negative, but at $25, it frees things up dramatically for some of the other pitchers who are on the slate. And we've got a couple of what, at least one anyway, would be considered an ace in Max Scherzer. But there's also Coors Field. So with that price point over there on Yahoo, now I've played on Yahoo for about 5 or 6 years now. Mostly baseball. I like their football product. I usually end up doing football articles for them, but I really like their baseball product. It's very different. The pitching goes up, like the really ace level pitchers in a normal season will get up to 60, 61, 62. So that's like Apex, Scherzer, Verlander, those guys. Most of them are in the high 50s of that, the next dozen or so pitchers. And then they do usually a decent job by slate of making you make some choices here. There are no slam dunk lineups. Their pricing is also a little bit wonky. It kind of leads a little bit to, some would say, like an auction value, or their stars and scrubs builds can be dramatic, and you could find a lot of good hitters. The minimum is 7. So you can find a lot of decent guys usually throughout the day, and by a lot I mean 3 or 4 at the different positions that you can use as your one-offs that will allow you to get those stacks in. So that's something that's really helpful. So we'll call out a few of their pitchers, and then usually they'll have 1 or 2 guys that gets a little overlooked because people just kind of lift and shift everything from the other sites over to Yahoo, and then they may not think about it. So if people are like, oh, Touki Toussaint's so expensive, and that's all they're hearing, all of a sudden they're not even going to scroll down far enough to see him at $25. And if they're hurrying to make lineups or popping in there, he's not going to be in the mix. And the savvy people will get him, so he'll still be about 20 or 30% owned, but it won't be the massive chalk that it would be if he was minimum priced on DraftKings tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic spot. That's a great call.
Yep. So let's just plug. I'll just build a little lineup in here. right now, and then we'll enter it in the contest and see what happens. But we'll put in a old Dookie here. On the other side, you've got Montgomery. He's up to 95 pitches in his last outing. Only 6 strikeouts through his first just shy of 10 innings here. 2 home runs allowed, 1 in each game. Not as excited against him against Atlanta, but we do want to remember that Ozzy Albies is out.
Right. Right. Yeah, you lose Ozzy, but there's still, tremendous amount of right-handed pop in that lineup. So it's not, again, like I was saying, it's not necessarily somebody I'm going to target, but at a good price on 2 pitcher sites, you can make him work. There are enough strikeouts in there that he could put up a decent enough start for a low point total, low price.
All right, on to our next one, and curious your take here. So we've got Alex Cobb going against the Phillies. Phillies have a 5.2 implied run total. I throw Alex Cobb's name is out. He's 26. Don't really feel as excited about that one. I'd rather go with Toussaint, even though he is facing the higher implied run total. For me, he just has more strikeout upside than Alex Cobb. But you've got Zach Wheeler on the other side at 44. Now that's kind of their mid-price but not cheap pitching over there at Yahoo. So he's someone that's going to kind of make our short list as of potential guys. But to sort of put it in perspective for him, we've got Dylan Bundy at 48. We've got Seattle's Marco Gonzalez at 40. That's not a great price. Mike Minor at 39 against Seattle. That's not horrible. Let's see, Maeda in a tough matchup at 38. Ross Stripling at 36 against San Diego, because Stripling's going to be in the mix there. John Lester, maybe. He's 35. Tougher matchup against Cleveland, but that's not the worst situation there. And that's just kind of the names that are popping here up top. Martine Perez at 29. Now, he's not great, but he's also probably not going to kill you, and he is going against Tampa Bay. That game is in Boston. But those are the names we're looking for. Guess what? Those aren't the names we're going to be talking about on these other sites. So, that again, it's all about calibrating and getting on over there and having some fun at Yahoo. So we'll do a more conventional approach here. Alex Cobb at 7,200. I'm not so sure. Zach Wheeler, maybe 9,900 though on DK. Talk to us about Wheeler going against Baltimore. The batters of Birdland are not that fierce.
I like that. Yeah, I think Wheeler's in a great spot against this lineup. He's a tremendous pitcher. I think this might be the first opportunity we've had to roster him on FanDuel, at least. I don't remember playing him yet this year, but
I think he has made one start.
One on FanDuel?
No, he's made 2 starts. So he started the 25th and then the 5th.
Yeah, I mean in terms of like a main slate went up.
And I think you're right. Yeah, I think the one in New York might have been an early slate or a doubleheader or something like that.
Yeah. So regardless, look, he's had 13 good innings so far this year, and he had a very good 2019. 3.96 ERA with a 4.06 xFIP, so everything was right in line with he was the pitcher that we saw out there. 23.5 strikeout, only 6% walk, so pretty solid. He tends to walk a lot more left-handers, give up twice as many walks to lefties. Home run per 9 was higher against lefties as well as 116, but nothing tragic there. So good pitcher, guy who knows how to get it done. And against this lineup, I would definitely roster some of him. I really like the sound of that price as you read down through some of those Yahoo guys. Comparatively, that's probably your best spot, your best pitcher out of that list that you read, unless you're going up to max.
Yeah,
I had made a note of 2 of those guys. One was Minor at 39, and then one you didn't say was Lindblom at 35. He's my guy, but not against that Twins lineup. We'll get to that one. But I think that's a great price for him on Yahoo. I'll definitely have a lot of them at 9K on FanDuel. You're asking him a big price tag on DK at 99, but I think he's probably worth it. Alex Cobb on the other side, give me the Phillies bats. Give me the Phillies bats all day long. I do not believe in Alex Cobb. I know he's been okay so far in 2020. He's at 24% strikeout rate so far in 2020. For the last 4 seasons, he's been in the mid-teens. He's an 18.9% strikeout guy for his career, so he's not going to be in the mid-20s of strikeouts for long for this sustained for the season. So far, he's at 2.51 ERA, but he's got a 4.16 FIP going with that. So benefited a little bit from luck and defense. Just not a guy I'm going to at all. 5.19 projected FIP from Steamer, 6.43 Ks per 9. Not a guy I like. Plenty of power, plenty of pop in this lineup. Phillies, top 4 we've talked about a number of times. I love going down to Jay Bruce as a big lefty bat against a bad righty here later in the lineup. So a lot of different things we can do with that Phillies lineup here.
All right, next one, kind of a intriguing little story here. You've got John Lester, who's at 9,200 on DK. He is going against Cleveland. Cleveland on the other side has Adam Plutko starting. Now, he started 2 weeks ago, so the 28th of July. He went 86 pitches. Since then, he has made one appearance, an 8 inning, or probably an 8 pitch appearance on the 6th. He is starting for Mike Clevenger, who has been told to quarantine because he broke team protocol while on the road trip in Chicago. I believe they also sent Zach Plesac home because he went out with friends and family.
That was the one I saw.
Yeah. So I guess
These guys.
All right, these guys are in their early 20s, but come on, don't be an idiot. For 2 months, you just have to sort of be careful. That's it, just for 2 months. So in any event, Plutko is now going to start. I bring up the question of, if he hasn't, we can't send him back to the minors or whatever for work if he's just pitched once, at least in the major league. I don't know what he's been doing on the side or at the alternate training side or anything like that. But, how much are we going to get from him? But he's at 6,200. So if I can get 70 pitches for 6,200, even though it's Chicago, I'm willing to roll the dice, I think.
Yeah, very limited fashion. Like we've talked about. At that low price, you can get a decent start from him. I don't love him. He's not a guy that I ever really roster, especially on the one pitcher site. It's even at 6,400. He's not really in consideration for me. Just looking at some of his career numbers, he's 17 and a half strikeouts, 6.1 walks. So decent on the walks, but not as many strikeouts as you want. What's really concerning is 2.11 home run per 9 for his career. This is a guy who gives up the long ball. He was 2.47 in 2018, 1.81 in 2019. So you can get to him. Maybe some of these lefty Cubs bats. You've got a big one in Anthony Rizzo and another big one in Kyle Schwarber there. Even a sneaky like Jason Hayward play late in the lineup here. And then you've got righty mashers who can certainly get to a pitcher like this as well. So I like those Cubs. I understand the play on the two-pitcher site, so I get that. But I think I'm going to be more targeting Cubs bats in this one.
All right, here's additional information that was posted about an hour ago. So it says Clevenger went out in Chicago Saturday night with fellow Indian starter Zach Plesac. Doesn't sound like family and friends to me, but hey, went out with him. Who had to take a rental car? Oh, so Plesac had to take a rental car back to Cleveland. Clevenger,
that I saw.
Clevenger flew home on the team charter and didn't say anything. Now they're both being quarantined for 72 hours, tested daily. They gotta have.
But if Clevenger was on the charter, that means the entire team was exposed to him, so the entire team should be in quarantine now. I don't want to tell MLB
I only report the news that's being reported.
Expect some postponements for Indians games in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody's negative. Hopefully there was nothing to worry about, but what a mess. Like you said, I mean, I know you're in your 20s, but my gosh, it's not that difficult. Stay in your hotel. For the people listening, stay home, put masks on. It's not hard. We'd have college football if everybody had just been doing that all summer.
Yeah. That's where we are. All right.
Anyway, Lester against the Indians, I don't think we really talked about. He's a reliable innings eater guy. We know who John Lester is, I think.
Yeah.
Home runs against right-handers. 2 out of the last 3 years, he was around 1.5 home runs per 9. So maybe pick up some of those righty bats. We know the top half of the Cubs lineup goes around the horn in the infield, doesn't strike out that much. We love playing them. It's about it with this game, with that matchup, I think.
All right, on to the next one. Gio Gonzalez, 31 on Yahoo. Tyler Alexander for Detroit, $25. A lot of power sitting there in that Sox lineup. I really don't want to mess with Tyler Alexander, even at the minimum when I've got Touki Toussaint. So there's a reason for going to the cheap pitchers. There's a lot of them. I don't want Alex Cobb, Garrett Richards, Brandon Bielak, maybe Martine Perez. I don't want Kyle Freeland. Not really a fan of Rick Porcello. So you could say you don't get you don't go dumpster diving unless there's a reason. Tyler Alexander, I don't think that's a good reason. 55, 6, 22, and 22 pitches. So he's kind of been doing some bullpen work. He's probably good for 60, 65, which isn't terrible, but are the strikeouts going to be there? Now, he had 10 in his last appearance against Cincinnati on 55 pitches. That is almost impossible to do.
Yeah, that's strikeouts from 55 pitches. I hadn't seen that.
I'm looking at the Yahoo game log. Let's look at another game log and see if there's not a little adjustment. Nope. Same thing on DraftKings. So yeah, 55 pitches, 10 strikeouts, 12 batters faced. Think about that. He faced 12 batters. He walked one, struck out 10, and the other got out by a ground out. It looks.
That's gonna go down as like the best 2.5 innings of his life.
Yeah. Oh, 2.5, 3.2. Come on.
3.2. Yeah. Sorry. Bad math. Wow. That's surprising. I mean, I really stopped at after just kind of looking at his minor league numbers. He was in the mid-teens in strikeout percentage through his minor league career, mid-4s, FIP. So, I mean, he's an okay guy from a giving up runs perspective, but just like league average-ish, and is well below league average in strikeouts. So that's a stunning performance by him. I'll be surprised if he does it against these White Sox tomorrow, and I will not have any of it in my lineup. This is not a pitcher I'm going to at all.
Yeah. What about on the other side there? Would you give any credence there to Gonzalez? Does get a decent matchup against a mostly punchless Detroit team, except if they're playing Pittsburgh. But he's just given up 3 home runs in his first 3 appearances. He's gone 98, 7, and these are always, I'm always going to read these reverse chronological for these shows. 98, 97, and 70 in his 3 appearances. 1 DK point, 15 DK points, minus 4 DK points.
Yeah. I would normally say Gio's going to be a guy that you can rely on at least getting pitches from, but he's not even that this year, really. 5,700 on FanDuel. I don't think we're going to need the savings. If you desperately needed savings and you wanted to put together, I don't know, like Coors bats and Cubs bats or something like just everybody super expensive, maybe you can justify it. Like you said, this Tigers lineup is not good. I made fun of Nico Goodrum in Slack chat the other day, and I think he's put 3 30-point games out of 4 since I did that. But Nico Goodrum remains not a good hitter leading off here. CJ Cron, I think, is questionable. So definitely if CJ's not in the lineup, there's not a lot to love about the Tigers' end of this. So maybe I start leaning into Gio a little bit if I see CJ Cron sit. If he's in there, that's a lot of righty pop against Gio. I don't love it. I don't love the spot. But like I said, maybe if the price tag helps you out, you can get to a little and justify a little bit of it.
All right, on to our next game. So this is going to be a good one. So we've got Max Scherzer on DK. You'll tell us the FanDuel price. On DK, he's 10. On Yahoo, he is 56. What is he on FanDuel? 10-8 on DK, sorry.
He is, bear with me 1 minute. I can't seem to find this game. So, there it is. On FanDuel, he is 10-7.
Okay, so I think that's completely fair. Now, gonna have a big red day-to-day or questionable or whatever next to him. He left his last start after 1 inning, nagging hamstring. He's made everything. He's done all his side sessions, does everything else well. Remember, he had his the first game was somewhat kind of range shortened, shall we say. He still went 99 pitches on opening night. The next outing was against Toronto. That was even though it says at Toronto, that one was actually in Nationals Park. He threw 112 pitches, and then he had labored in that 27 pitch first inning. Sore hamstring, came out. He's going to make 9 more starts, maybe 10 if everything lands right on the calendar. So why risk that? Because if any of these guys go on the injured list, they're missing 20% of the season right off the bat. I'm okay with going to him. I'm willing to roll the dice on this one. I'm thinking about it as, I don't know that I'm exactly getting Scherzer. I've already mentioned some names that in normal years we wouldn't go after, and I'm totally comfortable playing them. I'll pay double what I'd pay for Tuki Toussaint for hopefully 100 pitches. I'm hoping that he gets 8 to 10 strikeouts, but if he leaves after an inning or two, I wouldn't be completely shocked. I'm willing to take the risk just because the upside is there. I think most people will go to him. I don't think the masses are going to stay away from him, Terry, at this price. If he was 12,000 on DK, if he was 11 and low change on FanDuel, we maybe have a different conversation. But I think where he's priced, we'll think about it. Be a little bit of a pinch when we talk about some Coors Field hitters. But I think if you're going to go with pitching, you've got to go with Scherzer on this one, even knowing the potential injury risk.
I agree. I agree with you completely. It's a reasonable price. It's not completely breaking you in half to go to him. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it as though he is regular Max Scherzer with no concerns whatsoever. In the back of my mind, I'm gonna be nervous as hell about it because he's got that reputation as a stubborn guy, as kind of a bulldog pitcher, which you like when he's on the mound and he doesn't like coming out of games or anything. But when you've got a nagging injury like this, guys like that tend to underplay it and tend to say that they're okay. So we could see Max go out there and come out early again. It's a concern, but it's not a concern that's going to impact my roster shares. On this slate, at that price, in this matchup, I want as much Max Scherzer as I can fit in and as makes sense. So I'm going to have my usual share of them. I think he can rack up the strikeouts against these Mets. There's a couple bats in there that are a threat, but it's Max Scherzer. He's been above 30% strikeouts for the last 6 years running. He's the best pitcher in the league. So I have no issues running Max out there. And I'll do it early and often. He's my highest projected FanDuel pitcher.
All right, our next guy opposing the Nationals, Rick Porcello, YSRP. Yesterday's starter, Rick Porcello, is what Josh Engelman likes to say. We'll actually be able to say that tomorrow. But today we are going to say somehow he has just shy of a 7 earned run average in 3 starts, 81, 82, and 56 pitches. How many home runs do you think he's given up?
2.
The answer is none. None. And he still has a nearly 7 ERA. How is this happening? A lot of base runners, a lot of contact. Look to those Nationals bats.
For sure. Yeah, you're all over the Nats bats. They went off their last I saw they were up 12-0 tonight. They absolutely went on a tear. So I think they're going to have another big game for us tomorrow, and I think this is a team I'm going to have a lot of on the offensive side. Don't like anything about Porcello's game. The reason I guess too was he does have a 4.50 xFIP to go against that 6.9 whatever ERA. So that suggests you take the home runs out, but yeah, he's a career 17-ish percent strikeout guy. Just not somebody I ever want to get to at DFS. Not an option for me. Definitely intrigues me on the bat side of things. Trey Turner leading off. I love everything about the top 4 here with Turner, Eaton, Castro, and Soto. I really think those guys do special things with getting on base with their legs and with driving the ball. And then you've got a power hitter, Eric Dames, coming up on the back end, big lefty bat with a quality power projection. Very cheap at $2,400 for a first baseman on FanDuel. So at $4,200 on DK, a little bit more expensive. That's not a equivalent price point. But on FanDuel, I really like that play. So definitely like getting to that. And then if Victor Robles is down the bottom, I like him as a wraparound play a lot in this lineup.
Yeah, and for those of you that want to say, oh, but he just had a nice game against the Nats. Well, okay, yeah, he went 7 innings, 81 pitches, 11 ground ball outs. He got the win, allowed just 1 earned run. That's propping up an awful lot of stuff. He got gobsmacked in his first 2 against Atlanta. And I think Atlanta's offensively is comparable to Washington, at least in the same realm anyways. So yeah, don't get stars in your eyes with Porcello. You're playing with fire there. I don't see the strikeout upside. Could he potentially get a quality start? Yes. Is he going to strike out double digits? No. Is he going to strike out 1 per inning? No. Highly unlikely. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Who does he think he is? Tyler Anderson? Come on.
Get on that point.
All right. Now, for those of you that are looking for a little thrifty edge, oh boy, do I have it. We're going to the dollar store here. Martine Perez, 6,100, is going against Tampa Bay. This game is in Boston. Martine Perez on a pitch per dollar, 91, 88, and 84 pitches. Okay. All right. You know what? I'll take that and the discount over Mr. Porcello. I just feel a little bit better about it. On the other side, we have Anthony Banda, who I don't know much about. We talked about him for half a second before we came on air. Did you find anything about Banda? The only reason we're talking about him against Boston is he has 5,200.
So Banda, when I popped him into the spreadsheet as we were talking there, I did get his Steamer projections came down. So he was a 9.22 K/9 projection from Steamer, walked 3.42 with a 4.21 FIP. I'm not sure how many innings. I don't have that on this page, so I'm not sure how many innings they were projecting that over. The walks are high, but it's decent strikeouts and not a terrible FIP. In 4 innings pitched in 2019, it looks like he struck out 11% of hitters, but that's essentially meaningless. So yeah, don't know a ton about the guy. Probably not somebody I'm going to look to roster too much unless I can find out a little bit more about him, and I'll poke around about him a little bit tomorrow, a little bit before I write the column tonight. But I'm guessing it's going to lead me more into the Red Sox bats. They're projecting pretty well here. I'm getting good power marks on several of them. Nice green conditional formatting, good projections here. So probably going to be more on that side of things. On the other side, Martine Perez, not a pitcher I like to roster. I know that he works better on 2-pitcher sites. On FanDuel, he's just never somebody I really get to. His 14% strikeout rate. He does generate 50% ground balls for his career, which is a little bit above average. So maybe he can hold down these Rays, do a few good things here. There are strikeouts available in that Rays lineup, but I think this is one where I'm going to be leaning more into the bats on both sides. I like the Rays better now that they've got Austin Meadows back in that lineup. And they've got some decent righties. Expect Hunter Renfroe to hit higher up in the lineup. He's got good power there. So definitely a lineup I'll poke around with a little bit. I like the bats better in this one.
All right, just a little bit more. He is 27. This is Banda. 27, lefty, 6'2", 225. Started out in the Brewers organization in 2012. 41 innings pitched, a lot of walks. Second year, same thing, a lot of walks. That was in Brewers rookie ball. Then he ended up going to single A, traded or moved over to the Diamondbacks. Went through A. In 14. High A. 15 in 16 he went double A and triple A. 17 was triple A, and he made 25 innings with the Diamondbacks, 6 ERA, 4 starts. And then in 2018 with the Rays, he had 14 innings, 1 start, 2 other appearances there. So he's just nothing really to write home about. In 2019, which was last year, do the math, 30 innings in the minors, 4 innings with the Rays. So we know how often the Rays shuttle their pitchers up and down, especially if they're fringy prospects, and he really hasn't been getting that tab. So
yeah,
just
not much
throwing
to
that out. Yeah, he's 5K on DK, 5% him, and then move on.
Sounds about right.
All right, we've got an opener, a probable long reliever, and neither one is Josh Lindblom in our next game here. We've got, let's see, Devin Smeltzer looks like the probable long reliever for going against Minnesota. Tough ask. He's a lefty. Minnesota crushes lefties. He's gone 62, 39, and 50 pitches. He is 6,300. I'm not really excited by that. 5,400 for the guy who's going to be the opener. That's Jorge Alcala. He is going to go about 30 or 35 pitches. Decent chance he gets into the second inning, maybe cleans up the second inning. He's gone 2, 1, and 2 innings in his appearances with 35, 24, and 35 pitches. So not your 1 inning starter or opener, but maybe a tiny bit of upside there. Still not great going against Milwaukee. Lindblom on the other side, 5,800, Terry. 5,800.
5,800.
Oh, and sorry, I said Smeltzer, a lefty going against. I'm sorry, he is the lefty. Still, flip that script. Milwaukee has decent righty power, even without on-base machine Lorenzo Cain and some of the other guys. It's not a great matchup. This one's in Milwaukee, Hitters Park. Decent chance the roof's open.
Yeah, and Smeltzer's a guy who gives up home runs. He's 155 home run per 9, 174 home run per 9 to right-handed hitting, 19.4% strikeout guy, 133 career whip. So he's a guy who both allows people on base and gives up home runs. That's the kind of guy we want to target with bats in MLB DFS. It doesn't get easier than that. So I'll definitely be looking at the Brewers. You mentioned some of the key guys. Obviously you've got a Yelich in there. Castillo is a right-handed bat that I absolutely adore in this lineup. You've got Justin Smoke, who hits from both sides of the plate and can definitely get into a lefty. You've got Javi Garcia there. So a lot of names to work with in this lineup. I don't love the back half of it. It's more of a top-end stack, but it's definitely a lineup I'll look at and see what we can mix and match. So Smeltzer's somebody I want to attack. Lindblom at 5,800. I really like the sound of that on DK, even against this powerful Twins lineup. The guy, maybe I'm getting excited because he came over from the KBO and I've just heard so much about him while I was covering that and everything. But he came back over with 7 pitches in his arsenal. He threw 6 pitches in his last start, 6 different pitches, and he got strikeouts on 4 of those different pitches. So the guy deals it. He throws a lot of different stuff. He throws a lot of junk. He's got a 91-mile-an-hour fastball that he throws 37% of the time, and he works with his change and his cutter 19% of the time, and then mixes in the other stuff. What I really like is he's in the 85th percentile in strikeouts. 85th percentile in both strikeouts and in whiff percentage, and he's in the 95th percentile in exit velocity so far this year. So even when guys are making contact, they aren't making very, very good contact. So this is a guy I'm going to look at a lot. He came out of his first start. He was kind of cruising, had, I think, 5 strikeouts. Came out, I think it was the back that was bothering him, and then had a decent start his last time out. So I really like this pitcher. $35 guy on Yahoo, $5,800 on DK makes a ton of sense, and $7,300 on the one-pitcher site. I like that a lot. Even in a tough spot against an offense that I love to roster, I'm going to have some Josh Lindblom tomorrow. I'm probably going to try and offset it with some twin stacks just to be safe, but I'm definitely going to have some of the pitcher.
All right. Nationals are up 16-2 right now. Asdrubal Cabrera, I came in at half the field. I have him in less than 1% lineup. He's in 2% of lineups. He has 2 home runs. He's 4 for 4.
He has 2 home runs now? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I know I've got him in a few. I know I had him. I have one there. He was stacked with Oakland and Dustin May. So those games haven't even started yet. So
Dustin May, first inning, 1 strikeout. Got through.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it did start now. All right, nice. 1 strikeout. Cool.
All right.
Let's see how we do.
Couple more games to go here, but we're at the Coors Field. You've got Zach Gallen going against Kyle Freeland. Freeland is someone that he's just dicey. Yes, last year was a bit of an aberration. He had, what did he have, like a high 6 ERA, 8.8 ERA in the minors when he got sent down for half a dozen clear your head starts. The 2 years prior to that, he had about a 4 ERA in Coors Field. Doesn't have a lot of strikeouts, gets mostly ground balls. I'm not really that interested in him. If he was a righty against Arizona, it'd be a different scenario. But at 7,000, lefty against Arizona, they have enough right power bats. I mean, if he's a righty, my reasoning on that was David Peralta and Jake Lamb combined have 4 extra base hits and 75 at bats heading into today's game. That part of their team is bad. The right-handed side, they've got the Starling and Marte and Ketel Marte, no relation. Those guys are good. They've got a couple other guys that are pretty solid. So I don't want it as lefty. I really am not excited to take Gallen as a pitcher. Sorry. Here, it's Coors Field. He's 8,600. The temptation is there. He's been reasonable this season. Terry, get a nice mix of strikeouts and ground balls. Do you want to dance with that in Coors Field, though?
Not my spot.
Yeah.
I don't get to pitchers at Coors all that often. Usually it's going to be a price-driven thing, and it's usually I prefer the Rockies pitchers, the guys who do well there, like a Johnny Gray. We've seen do
or Herman Marquez. Yeah, it's really, and it's got to be the right team that
exactly in the right matchup. Yeah, with the right circumstances. So it's not a spot I love. Poking around a little bit at Gallen, you mentioned he's been very good so far this year in terms of the strikeout. He's up at 31.3%, up from 29.2 for his career. Walks are right around the same, 10.7 for his career. He's at 10.4 so far in the limited 2020 sample. So you'd like to see him bring the walks down overall. What would concern me is just poking around on Baseball Savant. 23rd percentile in barrels, 33rd percentile in spin rate on his curveball, and 30th percentile in exit velocity. So he's giving up a lot of exit velo, he's giving up a lot of barrels, and he's not spinning his curveball like you want to get those ground balls. So that could be concerning in this spot, which could lead me toward maybe targeting the Rockies. With a good pitcher on the hill, somebody that people do have a lingering respect for, we might see that impact the Rockies ownership, especially if people do decide they want to play some Zach Gallen here. So it might encourage me to increase my Rockies shares. I'm going to keep a very close eye on them in the top stacks tomorrow and just see what that ownership and top play probability look like. Yeah, Anderson on the other side, not somebody I want. I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, and for just for comparison here, so Yahoo does a pretty good job of pricing up the stars in Coors Field. So you've got Trevor Story at 24. He's going to be one of the most expensive bets. Like Mike Trout usually comes in at 26, 27, or 28 every single day. Christian Yelich usually right around there. Blackman, Story, Arenado, when they're at home, they kind of are in the mid 20s. So you got Story at 24, Charlie Blackman at 27, Arenado at 16. So all of a sudden, and you can get these random, like he's the third less. So again, Yahoo pricing is very, very nuanced, and it's hard to always get a good read on it or know what's going to happen. But if you're used to seeing it like I am from playing there a lot, you'll spot these different things. In the last homestand, Arenado was 20, 23, 21, 22. So here he is at 16. So their pricing will move around. I don't want to call it dynamic pricing, but like DraftKings, we know it's heavily driven by park factor and opposition. I don't know what drives it per se on Yahoo, but I don't mind it if you start looking around. The other thing you can do on Yahoo is you don't have to force in stacks. You can do 3-mans, you can do 4-mans. The pricing will make it tricky to do stacks, or you need to get creative with the double punt at pitcher, or do the stack you want, and then you're playing a bunch of $9 hitters. They're not bad because they're $9. You just have to know how to find the value and where they're going to be. Hunter Renfroe, not a bad play at 10 tomorrow. You've got,
my gosh, I love that.
Yeah,
with his power, yeah.
So Chris Davis, Tim Lopes, they're at 8, or Tim Lopez are at 8. So you can find the guys that pop around. Jordan Luplow, let's see, he's a righty. He'll probably be in there against Lester. He's $7. Yeah, he's got like one hit on the season. Hey, it was a home run, but he's someone that for $7, 2 at bats against Lester, I'll roll the dice if it allows me to get some of those other guys in there. And you don't see quite as many eye-popping scores unless the chalk really hits over on Yahoo. But a lot of times it's not the same chalk you're used to seeing on the other side. So just want to point that out there because you got a good fighting chance to do well.
That's really interesting. On just going back to Arenado real quick, would it be easy for you to check where his price at 16 compares to the other third baseman on the slate? I'm just curious about that.
So Jose Ramirez 21, Gio Urshela. What would you guess Urshela is? He's 20. Does that make any sense? No, it does not.
Arenado is 16.
Yeah. Yohan Makata is 20. Bregman is 19. Justin Turner is 17. Kyle Seager 16. Jeff McNeil, tough matchup against Scherzer, but keep an eye on that price. He's 14. If that was against, I wouldn't mind him 14 against Strasburg. Scherzer, maybe not as much. We haven't gotten to the Dodgers yet, but Manny Machado is 12. Matt Chapman is 12. But then you got guys like Neil Walker at 12. He's still in the league. Well, yes, he is. He's now with Philly. He's played in 4 games, but you got to kind of look at all the sections because you could find in the mid tier, you can find guys that are all stars, right, and you can find guys that aren't minimum price, but for lack of $12 on a third baseman, there's a lot of quality options there. Chris Bryant is at 12. Eduardo Escobar is at 12. In Coors Field, so you can find your spots, but you don't know who or where it's going to be. So for the savvy gamer that is looking at this, it's like a treasure hunt to find these. So I like to hand build my lineups over at Yahoo, truthfully, is what I usually do. I don't usually do their CSV edit, but I usually only play 10 entries at a maximum, even if it's not a 10 entry max contest.
Right.
But
they do offer a lot of like quality, 10, 20 entry max slates where hand building is realistic and it's easy. And I mean, based on what I just learned about the way that they do their pricing, they've had my season-long fantasy business for 20 some odd years. I've dabbled in DFS over there, but I think I'm going to have to make a concerted effort to play over there more often because I really like the sound of being able to go in and not consider pricing as a whole across the industry. This guy's expensive, this guy's not, because of how it varies like that, and looking for those opportunities. I love the sound of $16 Arenado in that, and some of the other guys you mentioned, $12 Chris Bryant, $12 Escobar. Hunter Renfroe at $10 in that Tampa lineup. We mentioned him just, apropos of nothing before. He's a guy, he's over, if I remember correctly, each of his 3 seasons, he's over 25 home runs, has never reached 500 plate appearances. There's a ton of power in that bat, and it was a great matchup for him at $10.
All right, 4 games. Yahoo. 4 games to go. I told Terry we'd make this a quick one tonight. Yeah, not going to happen.
I forgot who you were talking to.
Yeah, Mike Minor, 9,600. He's 39 on Yahoo, going against Seattle. I'm okay with both those prices. And then Marco Gonzalez going against Texas, who's been a little Sluggish is like the exact opposite word we should use when talking about baseball teams that are starting off a little slow, but they haven't been that great. He's 6,600. I'm not thrilled with the matchup, but he's got 99, 94, and 73 pitches. Our pitch per dollar at 6,600 is reasonable. I don't hate it. He actually has a little bit of strikeout upside. He's like a 3.5 starter. Welcome to the entire Mariners staff. But he's not, if he was on the Yankees, he'd be Phil Hughes, right? He'd be a lefty Phil Hughes. He'd be like a guy that would just not going to be there. And Ivan Nova. But he's not a bad pitcher. The roof probably will be open in Texas. Keep an eye on that. But at 6,600, he's going to be in the cards for me just because Texas has been hitting so poorly. What do you like from that duo?
Yeah, I think that makes sense on the two pitcher side. I like it at 6,600. I don't know how much of them I'm going to get to against this lineup at 8,200 on the blue site, on the one pitcher on FanDuel. He is pitching. It seems like he's made some changes. He's pitching well so far this season. You mentioned strikeouts are up. He's at 22% strikeouts. Walks are down. Very small sample size, but only 3% walks so far. It looks like he changed up his pitch mix a little bit. He was throwing 39% fastballs, and this year he's up to 49%. And his he took his changeup from a 24% usage down to 14%. Bumped his cutter and his fourth pitch up a little bit each. So changed up the pitch mix, getting a little bit maybe better results with it. We'll see what he does. It's an interesting spot, lefty against this lineup. He's on the better side of the split to attack this lineup. So I don't hate him, but he's not a guy I'm going to be really getting to too much. I want to see more of it before I really trust it. And I think he could get exposed here. That said, I'm not sure how much of the Texas bats I want with that either. They're getting okay projections. I do like the prices a lot on them. The top 5 bats, only Joey Gallo is he's 3,900 on FanDuel, and then Chu is 31. Everybody else is below $3,000, and that goes through the rest of the lineup as well. So there's some opportunity there, but I don't know how much I'll roll it out. I think Minor is a much better play here. We know that Seattle lineup, they have all their powers on the left-hand side. There's a ton of strikeouts, so I think Minor matches up really, really well to have a nice start here. He's one of my better projected FanDuel pitchers. At only 7,500, I think I'm going to have a fair amount of Mike Minor.
3 games to go here. Our lone 9-10 game. We've got Houston with Brandon Milac going against San Francisco, so that automatically puts BB in the mix. 82, 40, and 53 pitches in his 3 appearances, 7,500. I'm okay with that. I would like to see some more strikeout potential there. 7 through just 10 innings. We'll see what Terry says about that. And then Tyler Anderson against, I don't know, Jose Altuve, whose deal with the devil apparently expired this weekend. Did you see his 4-error game?
No, oh my God, did he have a 4-error game?
Yes.
I did not see that.
Yes. It was at least 3. I think it was 4.
Ouch. That is a problem.
Yeah,
you're not going to do well. He's lucky he's paid well. You're not going to earn contracts with that. Jeez.
A little scary. But what do you want to do here with this pair of putridity?
Not get to too much of either pitcher, I don't think. Maybe you can get away with some Milac. His price on FanDuel is only 66. So definitely nothing scary there. He was a 4.91 xFIP in the minors across 14 starts last year, though. 24% walks, 24% strikeout, 10% walks in the minors. So not a guy I really trust. Not a guy, even against this ugly Giants lineup, that I really want to roll too much of. 7,500 on DK probably takes him above and beyond that range where he's a reasonable 5% guy, I think. There's other plays I think are cheaper that we like better, but maybe he makes some sense there. But I think in both cases, definitely going to be rolling some Astros bats. Righty, a lot of righties in this lineup that I really like. Going up against Tyler Anderson, it's a great spot for them. They really limit the strikeouts through the first 5 guys in the lineup. Number of guys projected well over 200 ISO. Number of very good right-handed bats. Alex Bregman's super obvious. I've mentioned Correa a number of times. His power is still very real, still there. Yuli Gurriel is a big righty bat. So just a ton of pop in this lineup. Mr. 4-error game, Jose Altuve, don't leave him off the top of those stacks. So, yeah, get to the Astros a lot. maybe throw in a Giants build or two, but not a team we really need to worry about on the offensive side.
All right, if it was officially 3 errors, you can find it pretty much anywhere. There's a nice one on YouTube. So he is going for what should be. He gets the ball and kind of does a force tag out on second, sticks his glove out, doesn't even come close to it as he's running towards left field. And then he's got one where he goes to do a turn throw, and it's like 30 feet away from the first base. Like, it isn't even close. And then there's one other one, and then I think he was running out into the outfield looking behind him for a high pop, and it was sort of what would they, the old days they call that the husband and wife play. When the three people in the outfield kind of converge and nobody does anything and they all kind of look at each other. I've taught my wife that's called the husband and wife play. No communication.
I like it.
So she even calls it out when she sees it. She's like, "Oh, the husband and wife play." So.
Love it. Right. I was hoping for a few of those drop in against for the Yanks yesterday. Yeah. Had so many Yankee stacks, and they just had so many of those pop outs in that dome that they're gonna drop it. They can't see it. They can. No, they caught it.
All right, that was not a lot of fun in that game. We've got a couple more here. Ross Stripling, 7,900. He's going to be one of the more popular pitchers going on DraftKings. He's going against Garrett Richards. I don't know what to do with Richards. 89, 90, and 73 pitches. Another one. We've talked about him. We talked about Shoemaker. These Angels pitchers that just have, over the years, just have not gotten starts just because they've been absolutely snake bit. He's one of them. Talented guy, just can never stay healthy. He's going against the Dodgers. 6,600. He's going to be a late slate play because you got to play 2 pitchers unless they're doing the mini 2-game really late slate. Then you only got to play 1. Stripling, though, I'm feeling pretty good about him, just because of the price play, and I don't see him getting blown up because he usually doesn't allow base runners.
Yeah, I like that spot a lot. I think Stripling is the right call here. I think you can probably get away with maybe a little bit of Richards where he's cheap on the 2-pitcher sites. I wouldn't do it even though he is cheap on FanDuel to any real degree, maybe a couple bullets with him. But like you said, he just hasn't pitched enough over the last 5-6 years. Just a guy who's been injured in and out of the rotation. So not a guy. I talked about him last night too, and just not a guy we really love. He was in 2018. He did put up a 26.9% strikeout rate. That was over 70 some odd innings, and that was his biggest sample in several years. And he's at 25% so far this year. He's pitched into the 5th in all 3 starts, so you do like to see that. He was originally supposed to go today, and I didn't see the reason that he scratched and bumped it tomorrow. I don't know if it was just scheduling or anything. Did you catch that?
For Stripling?
For Garrett Richards.
Let's see, because that's right, because Perdomo came in.
Yeah, Perdomo.
Richards was lined up for Monday's series opener on his normal 4 days rest, but Padres manager Jace Tingler decided to give him an extra day of recovery. Perdomo comes in from the bullpen to make the start.
Okay, so doesn't sound like anything specifically physical, maybe just a little extra rest. So hopefully nothing to worry about there, but it was definitely a red flag when I saw him scratch. But yeah, I think I buried the lead. Ross Stripling is definitely the pitcher that I like better in this spot. He's been into the 6-3 times. He's throwing his changeup. He's mixing in a changeup a little bit now. He's a very good walk rate, so he's not putting guys on, like you said. He was 21 mid-20s kind of a K rate. He's only throwing 8% sliders, and he's pumped it up to about 50% fastballs. He was around a 40% guy for most of his career. So hopefully that's probably showing a little bit of a difference, and he's probably riding that to pitch a little bit deeper into these games. So I like the spot. Plenty of strikeouts available in this Padres lineup. Will Myers strikes out over 30% of the time. You've got Fernando Tatis, even though he's a super duper star in the making, is around 27-30% of the time. So definitely could see Stripling putting up a nice start here.
Final game of the night. Mike fires 8,300 going against Anaheim. I'm not excited about that. This one is in Anaheim. Dylan Bundy, however, lofty price point, 9,700 on DraftKings. He's coming off a complete game, 1-run waxing of the Mariners. He had 10 strikeouts, gave up 1 run on a solo shot, no walks. He has 2 walks on the season. He has 3 starts. He's gone 107, 90, and 90 pitches, 10, 8, and 7 strikeouts. What do we do with him against Oakland? Thankfully, it's righty on righty for most of them outside of Olsen. We'll have to see if anybody's starting to get suspensions from the little kerfluffle with Laureano and who was it? I forget the coach.
I thought it was just the entire Astros.
Yeah, it was just a mess. But we'll have to see what happens with that one. But we could see a more weakened lineup potentially. I like Dylan Bundy. I hate to say that. He's not in the AL East anymore.
Yeah, look, I think we've talked about him several different shows now, you and I, and we talked about him definitely before that Mariners game. I said I love the spot. You agreed. You loved the spot. We talked about a couple different data points from each side, and then I ended up with very little of them in my rosters the next day. So I was kicking myself over that one. I am not going to let that happen again. I think we're seeing finally seeing the arrival of Dylan Bundy, the pitcher he was supposed to be. He's mixed up his pitches a little bit. He's increased his fastball usage also. He's up to around 50% fastball. So he was around 39% previously. He's been limiting power so far this year. He's up to 31% strikeouts so far on the young year, only 2.5% walk. That's up from 23.2% so far for his career. So really like what we're seeing out of him. He went up against this same A's lineup on the 25th, went 6 2/3 inning, struck out 7. Like you mentioned, he gets mostly the good side of the splits, righty-righty through this lineup. One big lefty bat, Matt Olson, to avoid, especially if Laureano's out, and we'll probably see him appeal this suspension even if it comes down tomorrow. So they'll politic it for a little bit, I would expect. So he might be here, but keep an eye on that. But yeah, I think it's a strong spot for Dylan Bundy. I think we could see him put up another very, very nice start here. Fiers, not a guy I'm very excited about. 7,200 on FanDuel. The price is fine, but there's a lot of quality in this Angels lineup. They're not the team that I love to attack. They aren't a team full of superstars, but they just seem to get the job done. Fiers is a 20-ish% career strikeout guy, 126 career whip, so he's reasonable amount of guys on base. He gives up home runs, 1.43 home run per 9 for his career, and that's 161 home runs per 9 to right-handers, 123 to lefties. So he gives up a ton of righty power with a Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon in this lineup, and even a young kid like Joe Adell, an aging guy like Albert Pujols. A lot of righty pop still available here, so I'd be concerned about that. Not a spot for Fiers for me.
All right, gamers, with that, we are going to get on out of here. You've got all sorts of shows, DFS strategy shows for both basketball and baseball going forward here on the weekdays. And then hockey, I believe, makes its brief return on Tuesday. I think there's one game. You've got heavy. We'll have to see what's going on with basketball. We saw everybody kind of resting en masse on Monday. We'll have to see how that plays out. But Tuesday, you've got the games start at 1 o'clock for NBA. Wednesday, they start at 4. There's 4 games. Thursday, they start at noon. Don't get completely caught off guard. And then Friday, they wrap up their seeding games here. So with 4 games starting at 1:30 for NBA. So that's kind of on the wind down. Let's go look here and see where NHL is, just so we can plan out the week real quick for everyone. So Tuesday, I'm wrong. They finally updated the schedule. So they've got 4 games. Their first rounds are starting on Tuesday for NHL. It goes off at 3 o'clock. Wednesday, the next 4 go for those matchups. That's also at 3 o'clock. And then they start mixing and matching those series going forward. But looks like we'll have 4, if not 5 games every day until next Monday. And then that's when we finish up with the game 4s of the series, and we'll see if there are sweeps and such. But hockey coming back here with a vengeance after getting a light day Sunday and no games on Monday. But with that, gamers, good luck.